We are back on the Doug Soravo Show, and we have a very special episode today because Francisco Lindor is now officially a New York Met for the next 10 years. Francisco Lindor just signed a 10-year, $341 contract extension. And this is a huge move for the New York Mets. Not just for this year, but the future of this organization. And if you think about where the Mets have been the last few years, even basically their whole time, it's always the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees are always at the top. You know, they're the best organization. They spend money. They spend money like a big market team. You know, guys go to the Yankees. They're not going to go to the Mets. You know, that's just how it's been. That's how it's been the last few years. For as long as I remember, who have the Mets really signed big name? A big name. K-Rod maybe, Jason Bay, Carlos Delgado, Carlos Beltran. Yeah, great players, but they're not those big guys. And the Mets now have Francisco Lindor for another, including this year, 11 years. And this is a huge move. This is a huge move, no doubt about it. And I know he wanted $400 million, he wanted 12 years, but the fact that he accepted this deal, it shows that he wants to be a Met. And looking at this roster this year for the New York Mets, this team has what it takes to go to a World Series, to win a division, to win the World Series. You know, this ain't just as Mark Weiss put it. But sorry about that technical difficulty. You know, the Wilpons, they want to play meaningful games, and they weren't about going to October. And the fact that this has happened shows that Steve Cohen is serious about bringing a championship to New York, to Queens. And this is a good move. It shows that the Mets are serious now. You know, you have your owner, sure. You have your owner in the Wilpons. They didn't really do anything. You know, one of the things that a lot of people forget to say, forget to believe, is that the Wilpons basically prevented the Mets from having success. And what I mean by that is, if you think about it, the owner, they have this say. You know, you could have Brody Van Wagen, Omen Minaya. You could have all these guys. But at the end of the day, if the owner tells you not to spend any money, the Mets aren't going to spend any money. And looking at this Mets team today, opening day is tomorrow. You have Jacob deGrom as your ace. Then you have Marcus Stroman. Then you have Carlos Carrasco, Tyjon Walker, David Peterson, Joey Lucchesi. The difference with this Mets team, out of all the years of being a Mets fan, being a Rays fan, we're going to talk about the Rays later. This is my Mets Rays show that I talked about a few months ago that we're going to do throughout the season. This Mets pitching rotation has so much depth in it that it's definitely the best rotation in Major League Baseball. The rotation I just mentioned, it still doesn't have Noah Syndergaard in it, as he's out with injury. I think he's going to come back May, June, or mid-July, something like that. This rotation has so much depth in it that other teams have no competition. Other teams have no competition when it comes to pitching rotations. You know, and I was looking at a chart. A lot of guys are picking DeGrom to win the Cy Young. And that says a lot. If every beat writer, sports reporter, whatever it may be, media personality is picking DeGrom to win the Cy Young this year, the Mets are in, not the Mets, other teams are in big trouble. And the Mets are going to do damage We could all do this talking. Of course, they have to prove it on the field. They have to prove it on the field for sure. But all this right now on paper, the Mets are going to do damage, and I truly believe so. I truly believe the Mets are going to do damage. When you have a rotation of DeGrom, and you have Stroman, and you have Carrasco, and you have Walker, Peterson, Lachechi, and you have all this depth, God forbid someone does go down to injury, whether it's Stroman, Carrasco, Walker, Peterson, Lachechi. You have guys that can step up. The Mets have like 6 or 7 solid guys in this pitching rotation. This ain't your previous Mets teams where you have a DeGrom, you have a Syndergaard, and then you have guys like, not taking anything away from them, you have the Gazelmans, you have the Lugos. Having Lugo in the bullpen as a setup man, or even as a closer, as we see how, Diaz performs, this is pretty interesting, this Mets team. The Mets are going to go places this year. And sure, you can have those haters, those doubters, whatever it may be. I don't think the Mets are messing around this year. And this is a huge move for them to bring in Frankie Lindor. To extend him. Saying, hey, come to New York. Not just the Bronx, but come to Queens and play in the Queens area. With the best fans in the world. And that's Mets fans. And then if you look at this bullpen, there's a lot of improvement from prior years. You got Jacob Barnes, you got Aaron Loop, Robert Gazelman, Betanzas, Miguel Castro, Yuris Familia, Trevor May, Seth Lugo, and Edwin Diaz to close things out. And then behind the plate, you have James McCann, Thomas Nido. First base, you got Pete Alonso, Dominic Smith, Jose Martinez. Second base, you got Jeff McNeil, Luis Guimaraes, Jonathan Villar, J.D. Davis, Francisco Lindor. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to lead off, if Nimmo's going to lead off, but this Mets team, it's interesting and it's dangerous. And the pitching staff isn't the only depth that they have. You look at this lineup, Guimaraes, Villar, Jose Martinez, Kevin Pillar, Albert Almora, and then right field you got Michael Conforto, and he should be the next contract extended. The Mets are making moves. The Mets are serious. And Mark Weiss, Kershaw, Bauer, Buehler, Urias, and May. That's an interesting lineup, pitching rotation, but I still believe the Mets have the better rotation. Time will tell for sure. Time will tell for sure. And I think the Mets, they're going to win 90 games. They're going to make the postseason, whether it's division or wild card. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what the Mets have to do. But I'm really more concerned to see where the Tampa Bay Rays go from here. Losing guys like Morton and Snell. A lot of young talent. But time will tell. And we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays right after this quick commercial break.
I'm going to work with Stratford Rec to see what can we do about it, because I can pitch in money to start with, because we need that. Look at that. It's sad. The pup is crying. We need to do something.
And when she gets elected, she will do a lot of great work for this town, things that haven't been done before. She's highly respected, highly intelligent, and I'm looking forward to hearing on Election Day that she is your newest representative, but most importantly, your voice.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so we are back on the first episode of Mets Rays Talk. And I'm sure a lot of you are probably thinking, how can you root for two baseball teams? But here's the story behind this. Grew up watching the Mets, going to Shea Stadium, still wish Shea was in existence. Citi Field, best stadium in baseball, so I can't complain about that. Grew up as a Met fan, go to Met games, so I root for them. But then I started watching Evan Longoria, and I just fell in love with the guy. I fell in love with Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay is my main team, but I root for the Mets. I go to Citi Field, and I mostly root for the Mets to keep the memory of my grandfather alive because I sure enjoyed watching Met games with him. But yeah, the Rays are my number one team. Mets, I really don't care if they win or lose. But the team that I care about the most is the Rays, and technically we should be World Series champions. We should be defending a title. But the Dodgers got lucky last year. And don't get me wrong, Dodgers were one of the best teams in baseball last year. They were due for a world championship. They did earn it. But when you make mistakes like Kevin Cash did, it's tough, you know. So I'm looking at this Rays rotation, and it's awfully different without Blake Snell. You know, we just extended him to like a 5-year contract. We traded him in with 4 years left, basically. But I do see Tyler Glasnow being in the conversation for an American League Cy Young. I do see that. I do like Ryan Yarbrough. I think he's going to be, I think now that he has more opportunities as a starter, because he started out as an opener, played some time in the bullpen, so I'm liking that. Chris Archer is back. I'm hoping he improves from where he was with the Pirates. You know, when he was with the Rays, he was good, and then he basically went downhill. You know, lost command of the ball, you know, the analytics and all. And then we traded him, and we got back Austin Meadows, who's probably going to be an American League MVP in the future, along with Tyler Glasnow. So we basically won that trade. Glasnow, our ace now. Let's see what he has. Looked great in the postseason, regular season. So I'm really looking forward to see what this rotation has in store for us. Rich Hill, we have a veteran, so he's been around a long time. You know, he did well with the Dodgers. I'm hoping he has some, you know, energy, he could go like 7 innings in the tank. I'm hoping he has that left. You know, the guy is pretty old. I think he's like 37, 38. So we shall see what Rich Hill has. Michael Wacha. You know, he had an up and down year last year with the Mets. You know, he was good with the Cardinals from 2013, 2014, 15, 16. So he had a good run. So I'm hoping these guys find, you know, their game. I'm not worried about Glasnow. I'm not worried about Yarbrough. But this is going to be a test 3 to 5. From Archer to Hill to Wacha. You know, this ain't the Mets rotation where you have 6 or 7 guys that can be in the rotation. Now, I'm sure Archer, Hill, and Wacha may not always have those consistent starts because I'm sure we may use a bullpen game, do an opener. Or maybe instead of having 5 starters, instead of going straight to Glasnow, we'll do the 6th game as an opener. So, bullpen, Nick Anderson is out with injury, so that's tough for us. Diego Castillo, I like. Peter Fairbanks did well in the playoffs. You know, had some great games against the Yankees, the Astros. Chaz Rowe, I like. Colin McHugh, Cody Reed, Ryan Thompson, Andrew Kitteridge, Ryan Sheriff, Jeffrey Springs. So this is where I'm worried if I'm a Rays fan. Not just me, but everyone else. We are in the American League East. I'm not worried about Baltimore. I'm not worried, although I think Matt Harvey is going to improve that rotation. I'm not worried about Baltimore. Not worried about the Red Sox. I'm not worried about the Blue Jays. Yeah, they got Steven Matz, but I don't really see that much improvement. You know, they have the young talent. They have the young players. Biggio, Bichette, Vladdy. They have that. So I'm not worried. I'm not really worried about their offense. I'm worried about the Blue Jays' rotation. You know, so the only team I'm worried about is the Yankees. When you have when you have Kluber, when you have Cole. Yeah, they lost Tanaka, but they added guys. Italian. So that's one of the things I'm worried about the most is this Rays pitching staff compared to the New York Yankees pitching staff. Catcher, we brought back Mike Zunino. We have Francisco Mejia. First base, it's interesting. Troy is out for the first few weeks of the season. And in depth, we have Yoshi Tasukugo, the guys from Japan. Had a great career in the Japanese league, and he looked good last year, so hopefully he brings it across this year. Yandy Diaz, Mike Brosseau. Second baseman, you got Brandon Lau, Joey Wendell. Third base, a lot of guys play a lot of positions. Yandy Diaz, Joey Wendell, Mike Brosseau. Shortstop, Lee Adames. Left field, Randy Arozarena. Center field, we got Kevin Kiermaier, Brett Phillips, Manuel Margot. Right fielder, we got Austin Meadows. Oh, it looks like Margot is going to be the starting right fielder, and Meadows is going to be the DH. So I'm looking at this team, and I see this team winning 86 games. It's going to be tough in the American League this year. I think the Royals are going to improve. I think the White Sox are going to be one of the top teams. Astros, you could still say. Athletics, Angels. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be tough. But I think from both team standpoints, I think they both have what it takes to make a run. Now, do I think the Rays are going to be this top team? I think it's going to be tough. I think they're going to win 86 games. I think they're going to just miss the postseason by a game. And honestly, that's going to suck. But other than that, I truly see these teams performing well. The Rays, when you look at this Rays team, it's the rotation isn't as bad as we think. We got Glass now, we got Yarbrough. Hopefully Archer performs the way I want him to perform. Hopefully Hill performs the way I want him to perform. And hopefully Walker performs the way I want him to perform. The 3 of 5 is what we have to rely on the most. I'm not worried about Glass now. I'm not worried about Yarbrough. And who's going to close games now that Anderson is out? I think it's going to be Peter Fairbanks. It could be Diego. It could be Chaz. So it's interesting. This is going to be an interesting season. And I'm happy to announce that I'll have another podcast. It's not going to be... I don't think there's going to be a set time like the Doug Sorrell shows every Monday at 9. I believe next week we're going to have Mark Merrill and Andrew Mackin. I'm hoping comes on, but Mark Merrill will be on. Talk some National Hockey League. So this is going to be interesting to see where that goes. Now, the way I'm going to work this podcast is... I don't think I'm going to post it on my podcast applications, but it will be live on YouTube. It will be live on Facebook. It will be live on my other Facebook account. Because it's just going to it'll probably be like a weekly show where not so much ranting and talking, because I'll do that on the show. I'll do that on the Doug Sorrell show. Well, it will depend who we have. Like if we have someone that's going to talk hockey, we're going to talk hockey on the Doug Sorrell show. I may rant on here. If not, we'll see. We'll just see how things go. But what I'm planning to do is like doing a recap of the game. So, for example, there will probably be some ranting. Depends on it. So what we could do is what we'll do is, for example, let's go to scores. All right, let's go to Tuesday. today. For example, here, this is an example of how this show is going to work. We're going to do Rays, Tigers, yesterday's game. All right, so we'll go through the lineup. All right, we'll go through the lineup. All right, so Austin Meadows 0 for 2. Randy Arozarena struck out a few times. But what I do like is Michael Wacha pitched well. He got a shutout. So, we didn't really, we didn't really get hits, but we didn't give up any runs. We scored 5 late in the game. So, I can't complain about that. Maybe I'll show some highlights. I'll have some interviews of the players and what they had to say. So, it may not be like your typical the typical shows I do. It might be like a 10-minute thing. It could be 5 minutes for the Mets, 5 minutes for the Rays, or discuss everything around Major League Baseball. I'm not sure how this is going to work yet, but it's mostly recapping the week. So we could do that. What we could do is I don't know, man. But it's going to recap. It's going to be like it's going to talk about the season. So we could figure something out with my production team how we want to work this. It could be, and I wasn't even going to go live tonight, but I saw the news with Lindor, and I said, you know what, I gotta start off the episode, the season with this, because that's a huge move for the Mets. It really is. So I'm not sure how this is going to work, but if you're interested in hearing me talk about Major League Baseball, talking about the Rays, the Mets, this is the show for you. So we're gonna see, like, if we're gonna do game by game, you know what? Let's not do game by game because that's gonna be too much. Let's do a weekly show. So what we'll do is we pull out the calendar. So today is what? Today is the 1st. Technically, yeah, it's April 1st. It's already Thursday. It's Holy Thursday. Happy Holy Week. So what we'll do is the next episode will be maybe Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon, like 12 o'clock. I'll pick out a game. I won't go over every game. So, or even, you know what we could do? We'll recap the series. So, the Rays are playing the Marlins, Mets are playing the Nationals. When that series is over, we'll do a podcast about that. And we'll go over that series. What I liked about it, what I disliked about it, where improvements can happen, where, maybe a coaching change has to happen. But I don't think no one's going to be on the move this year. Because, the Rays still have a lot to prove. The Mets still have a lot to prove. So that's what we'll do. We'll recap the series. I'll take a like. I'll take a dislike. Send me questions, whatever you want. We're going to recap the series. So we're going to recap the series. So what we'll probably do is this will be one episode per week kind of thing. Depending on how, if it's like a 3-game series, 2-game series. So that's what we'll do. So I'm going to pull up. All right, we have the Rays schedule. I hope this is all right. So we're starting things off. All right, that's end of March. All right, so we're starting things off with. All right, so April 1st to April 3rd is a 3-game series against the Miami Marlins. Then April 5th through April 7th is a 3-game series with the Boston Red Sox. So, well, I'll figure something out, but that's what we'll do. We'll recap series of the Mets and the Rays. It's called Mets Rays Talk. So we'll figure something out, and that's just how it's going to work. So maybe if we want, The Rays have a day off April 8th. Maybe I could do a show then, and I'll recap the Marlins series, I'll recap the Red Sox series, and then I'll preview the Yankees series. Just way, we have what we could talk about. So, that's what we'll do. We'll recap series. And this is going to be interesting for the Mets, too. So, let's see the Mets schedule. I think they start next Thursday. So, the Mets and Nationals. Well, all right, Mets home opener is that Thursday, April 8th at 1:10 p.m. So, maybe that night, what we could do is at 12 o'clock. All right, so 12 o'clock next Thursday, I'll be live recapping the Marlins, Rays, Red Sox, recapping the Mets, Nationals, Mets, Phillies, and previewing the Mets, Marlins series. So, Mets, Rays talk, the next episode will be next Thursday at 12 o'clock. All right, sounds like a plan? And it will probably be like a half-hour show. And then the Doug Strauss show will be every Monday, 9 p.m., and this will be next Thursday at 12 p.m. So tune in. All right, we have a plan. We truly have a plan. All right. And it may not be every Thursday. We're going to work on, we'll see when it is, just so we could like go over things, put down notes, and, be interesting. I'm looking forward to this. I love talking sports. I love talking baseball. The Doug Strauss Show, it's not your typical Monday night podcast. It's just, talking sports, talking some BS, and then politics whenever Andrew's on. So, but yeah. So this show is going to focus on the Mets and the Rays only. It's going to be a recap show. It's kind of like the Devils on the Road show I did last year, where I would go to a Devil game and I would recap that game. It was maybe 10, 15-minute episodes, depending on, if it was a good, if it was a good game. I didn't really have much to say. Yeah, we played well. We scored goals. Now, if it was a bad game, I had a lot to say. I had a lot to say about that Devil Rangers game, November 30th, where the Devils got shut out on home ice 4-0. And boy, let's not get started on that, because the Devils find a way to piss me off. But what we will do is I'm going to the Devil game on Easter Sunday, so I could do a Section 116 show for the Devils and recap that game. And then my next game, I think, will be the 13th against the Rangers. So we got a lot of shows coming up. Lots of shows. Looking forward to it. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys next time. Dougie, it's time to go. Growing up, I wanted to be in the NHL. I wanted to be just like my idol, Martin Brodeur. In life, sometimes you win some, but sometimes you will lose some. Being successful isn't about chasing a paycheck. Being successful is about chasing your passion and building a foundation to where you want to be. You only live once, so you might as well do what you love. Think big. Don't just settle. People are going to hate, doubt, and tell you that you can't. But if you put your mind to something, nothing is impossible. Think big.